like to welcome all the honored guests, all the ring members, the members that will be, the future members that are sitting over here to your right and my left this evening. It looks like some of them are still filtering in. I've got obviously a little longer film session tonight, getting ready for tomorrow night's game. We do have a few more refreshments over there, so certainly take the opportunity throughout the course of the evening to stop over and get whatever you need. We appreciate the opportunity to be with all of you this evening, and I know our football players are excited about that as well. We always great to have everybody here for the social and kind of reminisce on all of the things that we've had and all of the things that we will have as we move forward. It's always an honor for us to have all of you here and see all of you and just listen to some of the stories of all the great things that have happened at East High over the years, and obviously with these guys, some of the future great things that will happen. We would like to thank Marla Padgett, principal, for being here this evening and allowing this to happen. There will be some members of the executive staff stopping through this evening. They've got some meetings that they're also attending as well, so when they come, we will thank them for being here as well. Would like to take the opportunity to always thank Mike and Charlie and Mike for all of that they do in organizing this evening and making it very special for the honorees in front of me and those being honored this evening. So please, a nice round of applause for those gentlemen. Without further ado, we'll get the program started. I believe up first is Mr. Aldrich with a presentation to Marla Padgett.
Well, thank you, Mr. Pace, and welcome everybody to our 10th year anniversary of the Football Ring of Honor. I can't think of anywhere else in the state that any other high school celebrates, remembers, recognizes the football heritage of their high school like we do at East High School. So thank you, Ms. Padgett, thank you, Mr. Pace, for allowing us to have it right here in High and Vines. We're glad that you're here. At this time, I'd like to make a little presentation to our principal, Ms. Padgett. She had contacted us probably about a year ago and asked us if she could help us, the Ring of Honor people, raise some money for East. And we had got together collaboratively and wanted to figure out how could we get something to maybe really work out really good for East. So we came up with an idea that could help East High out in 3 different ways. And we were going to put this brick paver project out front here. And the first thing is we want to dress up that area. And for some of you people who haven't been here in a while, the main entrance to East High School is this area right here. And if you got a chance to look at the board back there and see what it looked like before we did that brick paver project, you will see how well it's cleaned up. So we cleaned up that area and made it look really sharp. That was our number 1. Our number 2, we wanted you to leave a legacy for any East High alumni, anybody who graduated from East, to leave a lasting legacy with their engravement in the brick at East High School there. As long as those pillars are in front of the building though on High Street, that's how long those bricks will be over there. So many alumni bought that. So then number 2, you leave a lasting legacy. And number 3, getting to Mrs. Padgett's point, we wanted to raise some money for East High School. And that's all East High School, for all alumni, for the culinary department, the swing show, the band, the orchestra, anything that East High administration deems necessary, we have money available for them. Right now we laid 4 bays with over 200 bricks in each one, so there's 800 bricks there laid right now. We have 180 engraved at this point. We have 25 so far Ring of Honor members that have bought bricks. We appreciate that. We have many alumni. I believe it's from 20 different states, from over 65 different towns. Alumni throughout the country have came in and bought. And so after we have paid for the bricks, we paid for the emblem, we paid for the cement, we still have 620 bricks to be engraved. There's information over there, but Ms. Padgett, if you could come up at this time. On behalf of the Ring of Honor football that sponsored this and all East High alumni, we'd like to give you a check for $7,385. I'd also like to give a major thank you to our sponsor, the East High Golf Alumni Committee, for help financing this event. Through the 10 years, we'd have different sponsors, but the last couple of years, the East High alumni has stepped forward and really helped us. And you see all these sharp polos we got and the plaques, they don't come free. So it is a cost, and we appreciate them helping us out with that. We also have in attendance a lot of our football players, but we also have some special people here too. Before we get to them, you know, we're honoring our Ring of Honor people here and the ones up on stage, and there's a lot of different players that have been here in the past, and I recognize a few of them, and I'm not trying to omit any of them, but if you have ever played at East High School or put on the orange and black as a football player at East High School, out in the audience, we need to recognize you because it is a team effort. I mean, I see Chad Roll, Jamal Worrell, Percy Holmes, Rodney Frost, Chris Jones, Brent Shavers, and I'm sure there's many more. But if you're out in the audience, would you please stand up and be recognized? The other East High football players, stand up. Yes, indeed. We also have some special people in attendance we want to recognize. Is our head baseball coach who is continually building that program to get better and better each and every year. Head baseball coach of East High School, Mr. John Magnuson. Stand up, John. We also have a strong, firm, very effective athletic director and vice principal for over 18 years at East High School, now retired, Mr. Don Blau. Don Blau, you want to stand up, Donnie? And I believe he's right on Wartburg time, but I think we just had the head coach, the former head coach of Wartburg's perennial national champs and National Wrestling Coach of the Year multiple times, Coach Jim Millboy Miller. Are you back there? And also, as Mr. Pace alluded, the 2014 East High football team that's getting ready to take on them boys across the river tomorrow night, the 2014 East High football team right here. And fellas, I just want to tell you, as you get ready for West, just remember one thing. It makes no difference what the records is. Anybody sitting here will tell you, when you play East and West, it's on. It makes no difference what the records are, and if you're not sure, ask Iowa and Iowa State how that worked out and look at their records. So best of luck with you tomorrow night, Coach Carter's staff and the East High football players. At this time, I'd like to read our mission statement of the Ring of Honor, because a lot of times we get, you know, what is this Ring of Honor? What is this? What exactly, how did it come about? So please bear with me as we go with this. The Ring of Honor has been established to recognize former outstanding East High football players and coaches who have excelled during their playing career at East High School. This select group of former Trojans will have made major contributions to the success of East High School football and brought positive recognition to the program from their outstanding achievements on the gridiron for the orange and black. The common denominator for all members of the Ring of Honor is knowing that regardless of the year they played or the achievements of the team they played on, they share an equal status. Once identified, all Ring of Honor inductees attain a lifetime membership. Each member never graduates, never goes on the injury reserve list, is always eligible, never moves out of the district, and never transfers. This is one of the highest honors a football player at East High School attained. The Ring of Honor was established in 2005, and as we said, this is our 10th year in existence. The event is always held in collaboration with the traditional East-West game. There are 61 members who have been inducted so far. With tonight's 9 new inductees, we're proud to announce the grand total of 70 and counting. We'd like to introduce you to the members in attendance But first, we'd like to take a moment of silence in remembrance of those who are no longer with us. Reggie Roby, 2005. Pete Ross, 2007. Carlisle Bixby, 2009. William Big Sun Flowers, 2012. Carl Anderson, Craig Atkins, Fred Becker, class of 2013. And also recently, maybe many of you didn't get this, but one of East High's really good football players recently was a huge loss to the football family. Joey McCraney, who played football at East, who was a quarterback and middle linebacker, 1998, 1999, had a sudden illness and passed away at the age of 33. Have a moment of silence for these, please. Thank you. Now, let's move on and introduce the Ring of Honor members that we have in attendance. And I'd like to go through it by positions, and if you stand up and you give a wave and go back down, we'll roll right along with it. Starting with our coaches. Teaching and coaching at Logan Junior High for 33 years, the firm but fair mentor and biggest supporter of hundreds of future East High football players, and later an important member of the East football coaching staff, 2011 inductee, Marv D. Ward. Stand up, Marv. Starting his East coaching resume at Logan Junior High and on to East as a sophomore coach and later a varsity assistant, his dedication to East football and desire to make every football player better as a student, athlete, and valuable contributor to society, the man who bleeds orange and black, 2007 inductee, Mike Sheely. This coach was a professor of the offensive line, instructing his East players how to do it the right way during the week and seeing them pass the test each Friday night, propelling an East offense that dominated its opponents. His coaching record while an assistant at East for 6 years was an astounding 49 wins, 4 losses, and 1 tie. 2010 inductee Larry Van Ort. And the godfather of the East High School coaches and an impactful fixture on the athletic scene in the state of Iowa. As a head coach and principal at East, he started and oversaw a football dynasty that produced 6 state championships, undefeated teams, and a remarkable 56-game winning streak. The legendary 2012 inductee, Howard Vernon. Let us move on to our defensive backs. And as we mentioned some of these players to the positions they played, it doesn't mean that that was their only position. They were multiple players playing both ways, but this is where they really stood out. This hit-seeking missile out of the East defensive backfield at strong safety could cover the run and pass with equal success. Named first-team All-Metro and All-Conference, his play elevated East to the 1986 playoffs and later becoming an assistant varsity coach for East High football team. 2010 inductee, Dave Magnuson. Let's moving on to our middle linebackers, the big boys in the middle that you don't mess around with. Helping lead East dominating defense to its farthest advancement in the playoffs against Valley of Des Moines and then semifinals in 1979. The head-hunting, fill the hole, pursue sideline to sideline, All-State first-team middle linebacker, 2005 inductee, Mark Loftus. The unmovable, unblockable rock middle linebacker, he led East in tackles both years he played. East team captain, was awarded All-Metro, All-Conference, and All-State recognition by his senior year, as well as being voted MVP by his teammates. 2000 inductee, Brian Payne. Offensive guard and middle linebacker on East state-ranked football team in 1963 and 1964, and an All-Big Five selection, and later a most valuable mentor and coach in the Waterloo school system for over 33 years. 2013 inductee, Rod Payne. Let's move on to our linemen, to where it make it happen. Starting guard and defensive end for East team in 1966 and 1967, his dominating presence and outstanding blocking ability was a key factor to an explosive offense which led East to 2 straight state championships, an All-Metro, an All-Conference, and a first-team All-Stater, and one of East High's biggest athletic boosters, the one and only 2005 inductee, Mike Allen. The key blocker on the offensive line and holding a huge physical presence at outside linebacker, paving the way for East to win Big 8 championships and state playoff berths in 1986, 1987. An All-State first-team selection, 2005 inductee, Sean Hewitt. The Pittsburgh Steeler-like center that produced East's offensive line to a dominant running offense, which led them to conference champs and semifinals in 1979. The man who left defensive nose guards black and blue after playing against him for a game. Later, the standout collegiate star at Simpson College, 2011 inductee, Brian Jones. Solidifying the offensive and defensive line during the 1994-95 season, he was named All-Metro, All-Conference, and first-team All-State, and represented East High in the Iowa Shrine All-Star Game, being named captain of the North All-Star Team. 2014 inductee, Jeremy Jones. A multi-sport athlete, excelling in each sport he participated in. His efficient and precise blocking at center helped lead the way to East's first of 6 straight state championships in 1967. 2010 inductee, Dave Neuendorf. He was East High's monster of the Midway on the offensive and defensive lines, shutting down his opponent's play across from him, propelling East to win the 1970 state championship and be named first-team All-State, and later accepting a letter of intent football scholarship at Iowa State. 2006 inductee, Dwayne Ort. Starting offensive guard for East 1971 state championship team that featured a lethal offense, and he continued his successful leadership at football skills at Wartburg College's nationally ranked football team. The former golden voice at KBB Radio, 2012 inductee, Walter Reed. Playing in the trenches, going both ways as an offensive tackle and defensive nose, solidifying both sides of the ball and helping East secure its 3rd straight state championship in 1968, being named All-State Selection. 2007 inductee, Cole Southworth. The stallion in the line for East back-to-back Big 8 championship and state playoff berths in the late 80s. Voted All-Metro, All-Conference, and first team All-State. The quiet man opposing defenders didn't want blocking them. 2007 inductee, Larry Tees. The rock-solid anchor at offensive and defensive tackle for Coach Vernon's first 2 football teams, having success in football at East High School and later at Upper Iowa University. His leadership skills continued as an effective and outstanding assistant principal and athletic director at East High School for over 30 years. 2008 inductee, Tom Thorson. The offensive blocking catalyst on a dominating offense for the #1 ranked football team in the state in 1973. His passion, team spirit, and desire for East to excel was contagious as both a player and as an East coach. And the best storyteller of all East High Trojan football, 2010, Rocket Ron Turner. Let us move on to our receivers. As we get them here, we have the one that stands out, the bone-crushing blocker at tight end. He opened huge gaps on East traditional powers, sweeps, and helped lead them to the 1968 state championship, earning him All-Metro, All-State recognition. The big blocker, opposing defenders put roller skates on when he came their way. 2012 inductee, Mike Watkins. Let's get on with our running backs. Combining speed, quickness, and strength at slot back, he could run, catch, block with equal ability, and not caring which one he did as long as it helped East propel their wins, which happened time and time again when he played. 2011 inductee, Randy Lee. Carrying on the tradition of outstanding tailbacks at East, he led the Trojans to their first-time playoff appearance in 1973 while earning first-team All-State and All-American honors, starting his collegiate career at the University of Minnesota and ending it on a winning note at UNI. 2006 inductee, Norm Montgomery. Voted by the Des Moines Register as the best high school football player ever in the state of Iowa. He was a starter as a sophomore and continued his legacy for 2 more years, shattering numerical statistics during his playing time while leading East to back-to-back state championships. 2005 inductee, Jerry Moses. Combining speed, power, and agility when carrying the football, in addition to being a deadly weapon catching the ball out of the backfield. He was the main threat on an offense that led East to 2 straight state championships, a first-team All-Stater his junior and a first-team All-Stater his senior season. 2000 inductee, 2005 inductee, Neil Moses. This elusive, quick, stop-and-go on a dime slot back, he was the driving force on offense that captured East's first state championship in 1967. Now director of UNI's Center of Urban Education, 2008 inductee, Tony Stevens. And let's end it up with the guys in the huddle that call it out to make it happen. Starting quarterback on the #1 ranked football team in the state in 1973. He led East to the state playoffs for the first time in history. The efficient field general, who was all Big Five, All-State, honorable mention, 2013 inductee, Craig Carper. Starting at quarterback for the 1970 state championship team, his pinpoint passing resulted in over 1,000 yards and 13 touchdowns through the air. His elusive running for another 250 more yards. Voted All-Metro, All-Conference. The general in charge, totally respected by all his teammates. 2007 inductee, John Dunn. Three-year varsity player who participated in the 1979 semifinal game as a sophomore and later a key member of UNI's 1985 Gateway Conference Championship football team. An outright leader in the offensive huddle at quarterback or the defense huddle at safety. Now he is the leader of East High School's boys track and cross country team. 2011 inductee, Tim Moses. First team All-State selection for East state-ranked football team. He passed for more yardage than any quarterback in East High football history for a single season, completing 74 passes and 117 attempts for over 1,400 yards. Still holds the longest reception speed in the 10-year history of the Ring of Honor. 2013 inductee, Paul Owen. One of East High's most versatile offensive backs, playing quarterback 1 year, then tailback the next year, earning all-state recognition at both positions, leading East High football team to successful season and state rankings. The do-it-all magician on offense, 2005 inductee, Gary Stevens. Ladies and gentlemen, without a doubt, here is a collection of the greatest high school football players and coaches in the state of Iowa at one time, in one place, for one event. Could we get a round of applause for the East High Ring of Honor members? No, Mike. No, I'm good.
There's one Ring of Honor member we didn't mention. That's Mr. Charlie Aldrich.
Now let's get on and welcome our 2015 members. Going to our Coaches Award. Our first coach is Coach Bruce WIEGMANN. Coach was hired by Coach Vernon in 1963 after an outstanding career at UNI, where he was a co-captain on 3 conference championship teams. Now, Coach WIEGMANN, am I correct that Larry Thompson was on your team also that year?
He was, but he was a kid.
He was a kid. Is it true Coach Van Ort was on your team at that time?
Yeah, and he was a kid too.
Some other guy in Cedar Falls, Pat Mitchell, was he a coach on your
Yeah,
team?
but he was with one of the older groups.
Okay. And I believe Coach Dan Bowles, who used to be the coach at West, was there.
Yep, he was.
Can you imagine those guys on the same team, the Mines? I bet the quarterback didn't have to repeat the play a second time in a huddle with these guys. Coach WIEGMANN first worked with the offensive and defensive backs on the varsity level and stayed on the East staff until 1966, when East was undefeated and ranked number 1 in the state. He then left to pursue his own head coaching career. 3 years later, he returned when Coach Vernon became principal at East, and he hired Coach WIEGMANN to return as head coach. Not exactly the easiest job to fill. Coach WIEGMANN filling in for Coach Vernon, and then having Coach Vernon, your principal, looking down on you. Good luck. But Coach WIEGMANN didn't flinch, and he didn't miss a beat as he led East to back-to-back state championships in 1969 and 1970. Coach then moved to Racine, Wisconsin, and was head coach for 2 more years before leaving coaching and went into private business. His overall coaching record was 39-13-1, but it is his remarkable 18-0 record at East, which is really remarkable, and I want to expand on that just a little bit. Because during that time, all the East-West games were played at the end of the season, and the game boiled down to East versus West. And regardless of the record, it was always a big game. But what made it magnified at that time, during those 2 years, West Waterloo probably had the best football they ever had, coached by Dan Bowles. Going into those last 2 games, West High's record was 16-1. So not only did you have to win the state championship, you couldn't lose to those boys across the river because you never hear the end of it. Those were pressure-packed games at the end of the season. Well, after those 2 games, West was 16-3, and East remained 18-0 under the head coach of Coach Bruce WIEGMANN. And at this time, the East High Hall of Fame is proud to welcome into the Ring of Honor 2014 inductee Coach Bruce WIEGMANN.
Congratulations. Great. Good.
Thank you. You know, I didn't write a big speech for this evening, but...
That's all right, Paul Owens will take care of it.
Yeah, okay. I just want to say congratulations to all you guys out there that some of them played for me, other ones for Coach Vernon, and coaches after that. You're well-deserved the award you got, and I also want to congratulate the fellows that are up here. I know I played football with Larry Thompson at Northern Iowa, and my brother played football with Frank Bloomquist, who I don't even know if Frank's up here. Not here. Anyway, he played with my brother at the University of Iowa. So it's a great honor for me. Thank you very much for having me here. Thank you.
And now I'd like to recognize some great football players in memorial who are no longer with us, but we want to make sure we recognize them also. Our first memorial recipient is Frank Bloomquist. Frank was a main cog in an outstanding class of athletes that graduated from East High in 1954. Many members of that class excelled in multiple sports, and Frank was arguably one of the best. It would seem that with dedication to multiple sports, Frank would have little time to pursue other activities. But that probably never entered his mind, as he proved himself to be a leader in student government, music, while maintaining a GPA at the top of his class. In 1953, he helped lead East football team to both city and Big Six championships. Big number 89 came up strong every time East needed that extra effort. Both Frank and his good friend Don Buck were named first-team All-State. After leaving East High, Frank was awarded the Niall Kinnick Scholarship at the University of Iowa. They changed his number to number 64 and moved him to offensive lineman as a freshman. As a sophomore in 1954, he became a solid member of the offense and started all but one game in his 3 varsity years playing at Iowa. He played in the 1957 Rose Bowl and was named Associate Press All-American. And Mike had got a DVD back there of the 1957 Rose Bowl game, so if you get a chance, you may want to take a look at that. Some of you maybe remember a guy by the name of Don Chapmanik was also on that team. And if you watch that tape, you'll see number 64 really stood out. But there was another guy that played on that team by the name of Alex Karras. So he played as well as he did at that time. Frank also played in the North-South All-Star game in Miami, Florida. He continued his football career in the Canadian Football League, and he also continued his remarkable academic career, earning degrees from Drake and Harvard Law School in Business Administration. Now, Ort and John Dunn, I remember, do we have any guys going to Harvard from our class? Not too many, okay, that's all right. Frank went on to an outstanding success in business in Toledo, Ohio. He was vice president of Brent Builders, general manager of Rittenhouse Chrysler Plymouth Company, and a consultant for the Office of Economic Development in Washington, D.C. Frank married and had 3 children, Kristen, Susan, and Frank Jr. At the age of only 35, Frank was on his way in 1972 when this dynamic Trojan was killed in an automobile accident near his home in Toledo. Now, accepting on his behalf as a childhood idol as his is Mr. Mike Chapman. Mike Chapman, many of you know, is a former editor of the Cedar Rapids Gazette, very instrumental in the publications of many news magazines. I'm giving you a factual history, but Mike would like to tell you a little personal story on this. So at this time, the East High Football Hall of Fame is proud to welcome into the Ring of Honor 2014 inductee Frank Bloomquist.
In 1972, I was the sports editor of the Iowa City newspaper. We just put out the Saturday edition. It was late at night. It was midnight. Everybody'd gone home. I was sitting there all by myself, and the Associated Press teletype machine dinged 10 times. That meant a very important story was coming over. I went over all by myself in the darkness, looked at the story, and was stunned. I went back to my desk, sat there for 2 hours, literally, and at 2 a.m. in the morning, I wrote this column, which I'd like to read real quickly. We had a lot of tough kids and a lot of good athletes in our neighborhood there in the east side of Waterloo in the 1950s. There were the Buzzard Boys, Bob and Don, who became great wrestlers at Iowa State, and Bill Dotson, who would win the last NCAA wrestling title for State College of Iowa, now Northern Iowa. And most of the kids were noisy and tough, wrestling in their spare time, while other neighborhood kids would play basketball or things like that. But one of the finest athletes to come from our neighborhood predated us all and was also one of the quietest kids. He was enough older than me, 8 years or so, that we never became associates, but I deeply admired him. I was just a kid with grandiose dreams who delivered newspapers to his dad's house, and most of the year he was away at college. He had been an all-state football player at East Waterloo, who had moved on to the University of Iowa, where he was to start for 3 years at guard for Forrest Evashevski and become all Big Ten and honorable mention All-American. When he came home in the summer, all of us younger kids knew who he was. He was an Iowa Hawkeye football player. I can remember delivering papers at 6 a.m. those lazy summer mornings, and he would be on the front porch lacing up his football shoes. He was big and strong and always in condition. There was a large park behind his house and mine, and in the summer, in the early hours of the morning, the park became his personal training camp, a quiet, lonely camp at the break of dawn. Sometimes I'd watch him work out when he didn't know I was there. He worked so hard, it seemed. It was a thrill to watch a Big Ten football player preparing for the arduous wars ahead. Then Iowa was suddenly in its first Rose Bowl, and I became unbelievably audacious. I called my hero, for that is what he had become to me, and bashfully asked if he would autograph a football for me. He did me one better, this hero of mine. He took my old beaten-up white football and said he'd bring it back in a few weeks, and he did just that. He returned it after a 4,000-mile odyssey to Pasadena, where he had asked every member of that Iowa football team to sign the ball. It became my most treasured sports trophy. I can still remember receiving the ball from him on his front porch. The Iowa football star and the little kid. I was at a loss for words, mumbled thank you, and ran off the porch. He was very pleasant. He understood. He smiled. But I thought of him many times in the years ahead. I knew that he had become first-team All-Big Ten and had gone on to Harvard, receiving an advanced degree in business. I thought of his kindness to me, and it meant something more in the years as the years passed. I resolved silently to someday go up to him with words of thanks, words that I hadn't really expressed as a youngster. Yet someday I would tell him just how much that old football meant to me. But the years have the ability to make losers of us all. I'll never be able to tell him how much his magnificent gesture meant to me. The reason? Frank Bloomquist died yesterday morning in a car accident in Toledo, Ohio. And now he'll never hear my heartfelt thank you. But as the years go by, that park behind my parents' home and that football will become more and more important to me, I'm sure. I drove by Frank's house today, 3 hours ago. I went to Highland Park, and I could visit him working out. And I brought the football with me. If anybody wants to see it, I'll have it over at my table afterwards. And I want to thank the Ring of Honor for giving me this opportunity to thank Frank Bloomquist once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Our next inductee in memorial is Mannie Holmes. Mannie was a 1967 graduate of East High School, and he was a mainstay of a solid football team. He played defensive end on the 1966 East High School team, which ranked #1 in the state and was state champions. Fellow Ring of Honor members Mike Roby, Mike Allen, and Tony Stevens can attest to you how tough Mannie Holmes was. He was the mainstay of a very solid defense. In 1966, Mannie placed second at 154 pounds at the Iowa State Wrestling Tournament. After graduating from high school, Mannie earned a wrestling scholarship at North Iowa Area Community College in Mason City, and graduating in 1969, Mannie received a wrestling scholarship at Wartburg College, receiving a bachelor's degree in social work in 1971. In 1970, he ranked first place in the 167 pounds at the Iowa Conference Wrestling Tournament for Wartburg. He received a master's degree in social work from the University of Iowa in 1974. He worked for the Iowa Department of Human Services, Mental Health Institute of Independence, Iowa, a school social worker for AEA 7 for over 15 years, and at the time of his death, he was a professor at Wartburg College. He was a fighter for those who were less fortunate, especially children, in his social work profession. He worked with many children with disabilities. Mannie also served as a Covenant Health System board member and as a member of the Hawk One Healthy Kids in the Iowa community. Mannie was a longtime friend and leader of the People's Community Health Clinic and served as the chair of the board of directors for 8 years. Mannie was instrumental in leading Peoples to construct a new facility in 1999. Unfortunately, he died before the new facility opened. One of his greatest accomplishments that he was proud of when his return to the old alma mater at Wartburg College to teach race and diversity classes. Because of his good works at the college, the Mannie Holmes Cultural Diversity Center was named in his honor. Mannie loved his family and is mourned by those who knew him and his passion to improve lives of the community and children. He leaves to mourn his death his wife DELORES, numerous and close family members. Accepting on his behalf is his wife DELORES, and the East High Football Hall of Fame is proud to welcome into the Ring of Honor 2014 inductee Mannie Holmes.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Ring of Honor for nominating Mannie to the, it's too short. There we go, okay. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Ring of Honor for naming Mannie into the Hall of Fame. I would like to thank Mike Allen, because I know he did this. He just worried me to death. So sooner or later, I figured out that it was he who did it, and I thank you, Mike. I love you. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank all these family members and friends who came out to support him. He's gone on, but he did a lot of good deeds. And he loved East High because he would often say to me, my kids ain't going nowhere but East High because they surely ain't going to West. So I thank you. I love you.
Our next inductee, Our next inductee in memoriam is Roger Stevens. The Stevens family contributed greatly to the athletic program in East Waterloo. Brothers Eugene and Roger Stevens started a family tradition in the late 30s and 40s and continued with Eugene's son, Gary and Ted Stevens, in the 60s. Gary has already secured a position in the Ring of Honor, and tonight he passes it to his uncle, Roger Stevens. Roger was a multi-sport athlete, student leader at East High School, and graduated in 1942. A tremendous athlete, he is best remembered for his gridiron exploits. After already gathering recognition as a standout on the East team as a sophomore and junior, he turned it up several notches and led the powerful East team to its first undefeated team record in school history. East beat West in the annual season finale. Sound familiar, I hope? With Roger scoring both touchdowns and a 13-0 win would vault East into the mythical state championship. Following high school, Roger went on to continue his all-star qualities at the University of Cincinnati, where he gained national attention and was named Collegiate All-American. From there, he was chosen to a member of the National Football League, and after playing in the NFL, he was drafted and then played on one of the U.S. Army teams while on duty. If you have not get a chance at the table, we have got a program of the Cleveland Browns versus the Green Bay Packers, August 23rd, 1952. Program, Roger Stevens. Picture, Green Bay Packers. We often take pride at East High about the number of players we have in the NFL. And we took pride that we had 3 with Tom Smith and Reggie Roby and J.J. Moses. Now it is public fact and recognized Roger Stevens is the fourth to play in the NFL. He then had a successful run in business world before returning to Waterloo. He played at least 1 year for the Waterloo Warriors, a semi-pro team. Thorsten, were you on that team? No, okay. And then settled into a teaching and was also a head football coach at East High School. He continued to be a fixture both here and in other areas of the country before his untimely death in an automobile accident. To accept, we have dual split people here to help him, and one of them is one of his good friends and one of his teammates. Evan Curly Holtman is with us tonight, and if many of you don't know, Evan Holtman was a star in his own right, growing up in the same teams with Roger, left East High School, served in World War II, went back to school at the University of Iowa. He went on to a successful law career and one time served as Iowa Lieutenant Governor. He also continues his distinguished military career, raising to the rank of Major General. We're glad to have him with us tonight. And on behalf of the East High Football Ring of Honor, we're proud to welcome into our East High Hall of Fame, accepting on his behalf, Mr. Roger Stevens, Curly Holtman.
Well, the only qualifications that I bring, and I'll speak without that because I can hear myself when I'm away from that mic, and I want to tell you the only qualifications I bring is that I'm the oldest and I'm the smallest. Now, I want to address these remarks because at 118 pounds, soaking wet, in 1942, I was the leading scorer on East High's football team. Now, if you don't believe it, I brought along the proof of the annual that states it there. But let me say to you, and I only say this to you guys and you gals over here, that you don't have to be the biggest, and you don't necessarily have to be the smartest. If you've got it here and do your level best, these guys here will take care of you. That's why I was the leading scorer on the 1942 East Side team, and why from 1941 I was not the leading scorer, because the guy I'm honoring tonight, Roger Stevens, was a leading scorer and a tremendous pick in all state circles, and as you read where he went from here up to and including playing for the Green Bay Packers in the Pro League. Now let me prove something to you, because I don't want you to leave today in the presence of all these incredible records, and I have followed you guys and some of you gals too since you've become a great part of our athletic program in your careers. And I brought along the 1942 Trojan to say a remark or two, not just from me, because he was my idol. And that's the first thing I want to say to you. Pick out an idol out there, or two or three, and then do your very best to pattern your own life and your own career after them, because you're going to be a wonderful success in the process, as was the case of my own, because this is the guy in grade school, because he was a year older than I am, and Brother Pete was a couple of more years older. I picked Roger Stevens out as my ideal, and I spent literally my life through school looking up to a guy named Roger Stevens and trying to pattern after me. And I had the great fortune of a great coach, like these great coaches that have been emerdosed here all night, a guy named called Leonard Raffensperger. And he gave me the opportunity, and I think maybe this may be a record of some kind. I played on the East High football team, not on the full team, but on the squad as a freshman at East Junior High, and then as a sophomore, and then as a junior, and then as a senior. Now, I don't think there are too many of you guys even that spent all 4 of those years on the East High team. But I had a great coach, as these great coaches here today, who, with this guy and his brother and a number of other East guys following before you, who had this to say about Roger. And I want to read it. It's very short, and it'll be speaking about, the very, very first East High team, which is something that I feel very close in my own heart about, because here was a great man in addition to being a great athlete. And this is what was stated in the Des Moines Register. Undefeated, untied Trojans, and selected as the #1 high school football team in the state of Iowa. So that's where we all began, literally. And I wanted to congratulate all of you men and women in my presence today, because you picked out some great stars that you looked at and did your very best then to follow those great stars. And so here's what was said about, and I may have to get even my glasses out here, because I am the oldest here tonight. I know that. I'm going to be 90 in a few days. And here's what... Here in one paragraph, Roger, signal calling, and he led the team, and in those days, for you guys who don't know it, the coach didn't but rarely call the play, because it was illegal for the coach to be calling the plays. The quarterback or signal caller on the field called the plays. And I still think today, because I was the signal caller on that 42 team, I think it's a good thing, because those players, you guys out there on the field, you see what's happening immediately across from you, and I can take that guy out, as in the huddle he says. Or he says, I can't take that guy out, so don't run play so-and-so through me and trying to think you're going to make it, because he's better than I am on this field right now, and I'm not going to be able to take him out. So I really think somebody on the field in the game at the time kind of knows what's really going on, maybe even a little better than that coach on the sidelines or that guy up there in the booth, that's calling all those fancy plays, none of which are most of the time worked in the process. But here's what they had to say about Roger. Roger, signal calling and driving a breakaway that signed him as the tailback position or to the left half position when his brother Pete was not in there at the fullback. All-star selection. He carried his third letter in football last season. So here was a guy that lettered. Now, I don't claim to letter that fourth year, but here's a guy who lettered as a sophomore, as a junior, and as a senior. And let me tell you, Coach, they didn't pass out many letters in those days. This particular year, they passed out 16. So, it wasn't like these squads today in the high school ranks or the professional ranks that maybe 30 or 40 guys get a letter in a given year for playing 3 times in one game, but very important, those 3 times in that one game. Now, I'd like to read just one other paragraph, because I went to this book and didn't realize how many areas of activity other than sports and athletics here in East High that a guy named Roger Stevens was in. He was a leader everywhere, including being the president of the student body. Now, that's no small honor to behold, and you didn't necessarily get that as an athlete, I can tell you, because, again, I followed my idol, and I am going to brag one more time. Because of this guy, he gave me the opportunity to do the thing and be the things along with your ancestors who were doing the blocking for me, as you guys did for other guys, and as you're going to over there do it in that game tomorrow night, because it takes the team one. And with that, let me close with this one story. Another idol I had was later in life, was a guy who was in the Olympics and in that event that takes all 10 events to succeed in to be the champion. And you know, the Greeks called that leader the very best athlete in the world, the decathlon. Why? Because it had challenged an athlete in every way. Not just who was the strongest and could throw the farthest or run the fastest as a sprinter, which was my total of my success, to be very frank about it, along with all that help that you guys, your ancestors, gave to me. But he was in the Olympics, and they were down to the last event, and he had a chance to be the Olympic champion of the world from the United States. And as he and a teammate were warming up, and the teammate is the one that told me this story, and it's a true story coming from his lips. He said it was a bad day, cold, rainy, and as we were warming up, going down the track, all of a sudden he falls to his hands and knees. And I said to myself, this is his teammate, there goes the Olympics for the U.S. today, because he's injured himself, he's pulled a muscle. But as I got beside him on his hands and knees, I heard him say this: God, give me the strength today to do my very best. Not to win, but to do my very best. And I will assure you, because of the great opportunities I've had to guys like these here and to their ancestors along the line, that if you will give of your dead level very best, not only will this town be a better town, and not only will East High continue to be a better high school, but you're going to be a better man or a better woman for the part you play in it. So God bless you guys and you gals, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be a teammate at East High and be a part of this great, wonderful heritage that's here tonight. Thank you. Now I get to present it. That's where you want a little bit? God bless. Gary, you're a great tradition and family as part of those guys that I played with. God bless you.
Thanks, Curly.
Yep.
All right. It all started back in the late 30s. My dad, my uncle, and I didn't know it at the time, but it was my responsibility to keep the tradition going at East High. With the help of my brother, my dad, my Uncle Raj, my brother and I, we played in 12 sports, and combined all together it was 34 teams we played on, between my dad, my uncle, my brother and I. We all won the East-West game our senior years. My dad did in 40, my uncle in 42, and these guys were, I think some of you gentlemen in here were classmates of my parents and my uncle. I know Mike for sure. Well, no, your dad and your uncle, Willie and Vernon. Anyhow, there was quite a responsibility to be here as an athlete, to do for East High and not to do for myself, was to look up and go along with the tradition that was laid before me from my dad, my brother, and everybody else I knew. And some of these guys on this 42, the first team undefeated East High, I knew them later in life. And I was lucky enough, about 1950-51, to see my uncle play right down here in Vine Street Stadium. He played for the Waterloo Wildcats. It was a semi-pro team put together by the guy by the name of Spider Kirk, who had a tavern in town. And my dad brought me here, and I remember, just like it was yesterday, seeing these guys coming out of the steps out of the old locker room. And I'm a little guy, probably 5, 6 years old, going down to the Coliseum down here. You know, you couldn't get in but one way, sitting up there and watching him play. He must have really loved football. And looking at the annuals, I have all of them, these guys must have been tough. Now, I know I could have played with all you guys, no problem. But these guys back there with leather helmets on, the biggest guy was 190 pounds. Roger was 165. I played at 195, and I still would have been second guessing whether I could have made the team. These guys were tough. You know, no face guard, hardly, oh, geez. Not only that, the community here, we had houses all the way around, steam engines, smoke, soot. Can you imagine that? I mean, going out for practice. I don't know if they practice here. Where did they practice?
Grant School.
They still do.
Ran from class to Grant School and the Sandbirds, and
they're right over there.
after practice.
Anyway, you guys probably don't know where East Junior was at. Do you? East Junior High? City Hall. That was where the school's at. And those kids in junior high come up here and practice on Vantage Street Stadium. And the rest of these guys here at East, they went elsewhere. I never played a game here. East High played some games here. I know the Wildcats played here, but all my time was over Sloan Wallace. And that was pretty good. I got one thing to say. My uncle was drafted to the NFL in 1947 by the Chicago Bears. He was 42nd in the 6th round, and he got traded to Green Bay. He played there a couple of years. I got drafted back in the early 60s. My uncle got drafted. Everybody got drafted. My dad, whatever. We all wound up going and taking a break for the military. But my uncle played football for the Army. He was the #1 ground gainer in the nation. Like he was said, he was an All-American at Cincinnati. And I never thought till this time about him getting this that I was going to compare myself to him. We both went to a school out east. He went to Cincinnati. I went to Northwestern and played. Bearcats, the Wildcats. There was a lot of similar things that happened to us. He ended his career on a bad knee, same way with me. And the rest is pretty much, let's get rid of the sports and continue on life and get a good job and work. And that's what he did for me. He was my idol, along with my dad. But I got to say this before I sit down, just a minute. This guy back here, Ray Thompson, he's the guy that shook my hand and said, "Welcome to East High," back in 1961, up at Gates Park. I wound up there after I got through teaching kids how to play baseball up there. Thanks to Tony Gazowski and Murray Weir, they got me a job there. And this gentleman right here said, "We're going to work out." So we started working out there with other college guys up there at Gates Park. And we didn't finish there. He says, "Come on, get in my car." I got in his little Volkswagen. We went out to Elk Run to a dried up creek bed. And I'm going, oh no. You know, it's a summer, about 5 o'clock at night, and we started running the dried up creek bed for about a mile over to the Cedar River. We did that every night. Well, thanks to Larry, he showed me how to be a leader here at East High. 62 and 63, I took the East High team, went up to Logan, pushed cars around the track, and went over to Robinson Crusoe Island and ran on the sand over there. But thanks to Larry, I learned how to give it that all for our school right here, and I hope it paid off. I paid it forward, thanks to Larry.
Thank you. Let us move on with our new inductees here and in the present. Our first inductee is Greg Ferguson. Greg Ferguson is the youngest of 4 brothers, all East High graduates. Greg was a 3-sport athlete in basketball, football, and track. In football, he was on a state championship team that went undefeated in 1971 for the 6th-year state championship team. He was an all Big Four selection, a wide receiver, all-conference selection, and also teammates of Ring of Honor members Walter Reed, Neil Moses, and Tracy Greer. He also played basketball, 2nd team all-conference, and in track, he was a state champion high jumper at 6'6", 3/4 inches, still is the current record holder at East in the high school high jump. He retired lieutenant of the Waterloo fire rescue for over 25 years, serving his community with distinction. She has 5 children: Dana, Shonda, Cassidy, Tony Ferguson, who was an outstanding female athlete here on the basketball team, which was state ranked at that time, and also an outstanding sprinter. And his son, who is with him here tonight, Travis Ferguson, who signed a full ride scholarship at Iowa State University. And all due respect, Mr. Holton, Travis was a 4-year starter at East High School, if I'm correct also. The East High Football Hall of Fame is proud to welcome into the Ring of Honor 2014 inductee Greg Ferguson.
First of all, I'd like to say thank God. Nothing would be possible without him. I'd like to thank my parents, who's been gone for a while now, but I think about them every day, and they guide me, keep me strong. I'd like to thank my kids, for 2 that are here. I have 3 in St. Louis, wish they were here. And I'd like to thank the Ring of Honor Selection Committee for giving me this opportunity to be amongst some of the greatest people. I came up, all I ever wanted to do was put that orange and black on, like all of you. When I was in elementary, my dad worked hard at a foundry. He had 4 boys at home. When he come home on Friday during the fall, I knew what time it was, because he would be fast getting in that bathtub. It's time to get our gear on and get that Sloan Wallace. And you guys remember, you get Sloan Wallace, you couldn't just take your time getting there, because we packed that place. You would park far, far away if you didn't get there, because people came to support that orange and black. And I was so proud when I had the opportunity to play there. And it was really something I still think about. I went to McKinstry, 7th, 8th, and 9th. I could not beat those 2 teams over. We could not beat those teams, Pete and Holmes, over there in Cedar Falls. And I don't think Bunger or Logan they fared much better. But something magic happened when Bunger, McKinstry, and Logan come together, and we go up against Pete and Holmes at Cedar Falls. In fact, we couldn't wait to go up against them. Everything turned around, and it was just a camaraderie that I see them now. Friends last forever, you know. I got friends that I used to see Steve Dellert. He was our middle linebacker, fullback. I think he moved to Illinois, but we just reminisce as soon as you see a player, just like family. And it's something that just stays with you, and the camaraderie, the friendship, the love, kind of carries you on through life, and something I always remember, and I really appreciate this honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to our next inductee is Adonis Smith. Adonis during his time at East High School, was a 2-year letter winner, captain of the football team, first team All-Big 8, first team All-Metro, and was an anchor at outside linebacker. And I remember Coach Jones would say, whatever way they run, we're putting Adonis over there because he'll shut it down. He was also an outstanding baseball player, was 4-year letter winner in baseball, first team All-State, first team All-Conference, first team All-Metro. He did an outstanding job after he graduated, helping out the community, 8 years of coaching of the football and baseball and the leisure services, 2010 Coach of the Year in leisure services, 3 years coaching the Junior Wallhawks, 2 years coaching IBL baseball, 2 years coaching YSAL football, 5 years officiating U Sport football. Adonis is married to his high school sweetheart and East High alumni, Tracy Thorne, which is an outstanding female athlete in her own right. They have 2 magnificent sons staying in the Waterloo school system, Dominique and Colby. And at this time, the East High Football Hall of Fame is proud to welcome into the Ring of Honor 2014 inductee Adonis Smith.
I don't know where to start here. Mr. Aldrich kind of stole my thunder on a few things that I wanted to say, but to start off, I guess, again, I'll thank my family who's back in the back there. You guys probably can't see them, but thank you for coming. For those who did travel, Tracy, as Mr. Aldrich said, yes, my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, so she had to put up with a few things from me that wasn't always good and all that good stuff, but she stuck with me, and we're going strong 14 years now, baby. I actually had something that I wanted to read, but I think I'm just going to kind of go away with that and speak from the heart. A couple special congratulations. And they might not know it, but if you think back a few years, there's a few gentlemen that kind of helped me out through life, starting at a young age and also going into high school and continuing through high school. Mr. Thorson, there were many nights at the bowling alley. I don't know if you remember that, but we spent a few nights at the bowling alley, me and Mr. Thorson and Travis, great friend of mine. It got me through a lot of nights that, you know, were tough for me, but thank you again, Mr. Thorson. And my second dad, I'll call him, and I think he knows who I'm talking about, but Mr. Jones, Brian Jones, he was a very important part of my high school years here at East High. I don't think there was any day that went by during football season that I wasn't walking the hallways and Mr. Jones would be like, hey, Adonis, come here. Hey, what's going on? Well, what do you do on this certain play? I remember. It was tough sometimes, but yes, I definitely remember. My special one, or special play, or special call that you'd make for me was this one. And I think you know what that meant. For me, it was an all-out blitz. So definitely special things were going on at that time. So again, thank you to you two especially. I mean, like I said, you got me through some times that were pretty tough for me, but anyway, again, thank you to my family. Thank you to the Ring of Honor for voting me. Thank you to the this year's inductees as well. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Our next inductee, Mr. Larry Thompson, who has an athletic resume as impressive as any of our members. Larry graduated in 1960 from East High School, participated in football, basketball, baseball all 3 years, lettered in all 3 sports his senior season. He was awarded all-conference in football, all-state in football, awarded all-conference in basketball, all-state in basketball. He was a Clyde Artist Award winner and most valuable athlete at East High School. He attended the University of Northern Iowa, where he participated in football, wrestling, and baseball. And Larry, I didn't get this. They didn't have you down for wrestling at East High School, but you just went for the heck of it, you and I, and wrestled, or what? I guess that was good. A lot of guys can't do that. At UNI, he was an all-conference football player. He was a little All-American, UNI Sportsmanship Award winner. He also started his coaching career as a graduate assistant at UNI, varsity assistant in charge of the offense and defensive backs. In Northern Iowa, had a 9-2 record that season and won the Pecan Bowl. Northern Iowa inducted the entire team and members and coaches into the UNI Hall of Fame. He became the head coach at Ellsworth Community College in Iowa Falls from 1966 to 1969 and established a 32-5-1 record, 2 bowl victories, and when Ellsworth was Tri-State Conference champions in 1966, 67, 68, ranked in the top 5 bowl 1968. He was inducted into Ellsworth Hall of Fame, and you had to put up with Mike Allen for 1 year, if I'm right. You went to Ellsworth, and Mike, it was a 2-year program. I wonder why you were only there 1 year. It's okay. Duke University, he moved on as an assistant football coach in charge of linebackers in 1971 and 72, and went back to Duke University in 1977 and 1980 as a linebacker coach, defensive coordinator, and administrative assistant to the head coach. He is in the UNI Hall of Fame. He is in the Ellsworth Hall of Fame. And he's one of the more asked about inductees coming from out of town from people who wanted to see him. We're all glad you made it from Colorado to now become into the East High Hall of Fame, and we welcome you into the Ring of Honor 2014 inductee, Larry Thompson.
Thank you. It's really a pleasure to be back here. It's been a while. There are a lot of familiar faces. Obviously, I spent more time with Mike. It's a little bit hard to get away from me, but it's really a joy. And when I got a phone call about this from Mike back in the summer, it was really a tremendous surprise. I did not know about the Ring of Honor, and this is special, and it's, believe it or not, in my absence, because I was elsewhere coaching in different places, I followed East Waterloo all the time. I did. And it's just amazing what you all have accomplished over that period of time. And I recognize Jerry Moses over here. I tried real hard to recruit him. I'd like to thank the committee for recognizing me and so on. This is a great honor for me. Looking back, and that's about all I can do now is look back. It's just very special. I thought about some things as I walked in today. Mike Allen met me, and I wanted to walk around and just see what was here, because it's been a long time. It certainly brought back a lot of really nice memories. It's a little bit like meeting friends and family. Once you are gone for a while and you come back, you really kind of pick up where you left off. And when I walked through these doors today, I felt that. It was just very special. It's a wonderful place. I am very fortunate that I went to school here. I looked forward every day, you can believe this or not, and especially these young people around here. This was a great place for me. I was received very well by the coaches that I had, the teachers that I had. We had a tremendous faculty. I'll never forget that. They laid the foundation for me to go on and do whatever I wanted, and kind of paved the way. And I think about Tony Gazowski, Don Hanson, Murray Weir. These guys were great coaches, and they were great teachers. And I discovered later that coaches might be the better teachers out there. They really are. When you got to put it on the line, and you think about how you have to affect young people and teach them how to produce and develop their skills, it's pretty significant. And I felt very blessed to have the coaches that I had in my past. It was very, very eye-opening. I would like to acknowledge my wife, Kathy. She's here. She's an East High grad. We were here together. We've been married 54 years. And she bled orange and black forever. So I had to put up with that. We're big Bronco fans, and now as we watch, living in Colorado, as we watch the Broncos, she's in one room and I'm in the other room just because she goes crazy. And it's just kind of the way it is. There are a couple things that that I thought about while I was thinking back. You know, you think about how did you develop into a certain philosophy, and the group of coaches that I had and the mentors that I had, they kind of laid that groundwork for me. And it was, I was very fortunate. I had really excellent coaches and people that influenced me. It was certainly an unbelievable experience that I was able to go through. Murray Weir was my big mentor, and if you, as a player, if you showed up to practice and you didn't show up, he knew it right away, and it was not unusual to be sent to the locker room, and that gets your attention. And I remember, remember those lessons coaching, and it was significant. You had to be accountable every day. You had to be prepared and leave it out there and try to get better every day. And, I look back 50 years when that happened to me, and, I think about the success in the NFL. You look at the success you have in college and participating. It all comes back to being able to figure out where you are, what you're going to contribute, and how much you're going to contribute that particular day. And that was one of the things that helped me along the line. I'm really honored, especially when I hear all about you guys that are sitting right here in front of me, and I'm in awe, truly, what you accomplished, what you did, and I'm really proud to be in this group. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Scott Rowe. While playing football at East, he made second-team All-Conference linebacker his junior year and first-team All-Metro his senior year, as well as first-team All-Conference linebacker and honorable mention All-State. He was also the defensive captain. He also played basketball his senior year and made first-team All-Metro, second-team All-Conference. He was a 3-year varsity letter winner, captain his junior and senior seasons. He's also voted East High's most valuable athlete by his peers in 1987. He participated in baseball, and during that time, on the baseball his junior and senior years, he was first-team All-Metro, All-Conference, and All-State pitcher. He was also captain 3 years of the varsity letter winner. Scott has been married to his wife, Donna, for over 20 years, has 2 daughters, Kenzie and Lexi. He has helped coach his daughter's softball teams from T-ball through high school. Scott has served as bench coach for East High's varsity softball for the last 6 years. Scott has also served his community by serving as a city councilman for 8 years. His senior season, East played Cedar Falls in the Unidome the first time, and they beat him 49-14. But that game seems to be forgotten because of the rematch, which they lost later. But what not is to be forgotten is how well they played through the season. Also, East beat the 3A state championship team Columbus Waterloo 40-7 earlier in the season. So Scott's senior season, he beat the 3A and 4A state champs by a combined score of 81-21. So don't forget that part, Scott. The East High Football Hall of Fame is proud to welcome into the Ring of Honor 2014 inductee Scott Rowe.
Thank you. I got 3 teammates that were a part of that senior year too, so it was a good thing. Just didn't end the way we wanted it to. I'd like to congratulate all you guys, previous inductees, and the more I hear the history of this, the records and the game changers, I guess you could say, the more of an honor it is to me to get this. So. Again, you introduced my family. I also have my father-in-law, Tony, my brother, Chad, his boy, Tyler, my Aunt Jan, who went to games every time, Jamal, Mom and Dad supported me, sacrificed quite a bit. I'll just leave it at that. Having girls in sports and stuff, I realize how much you got to sacrifice, and what them two have done is it's pretty amazing. Try not to do this, but it's tough. Let's see. Yeah, like I said, I just been blessed with support from my family and coaches. I know Bub's been a big supporter of me, and I'd like to have you thank your dad, Larry, as well. I already talked to Coach Kittleson at the football game the other night. He wasn't able to be here, but I thanked him. And Charlie, I'd like to thank you for turning me into a tight end so I can get out of that mud hole in the middle of the field playing tackle. I was a tackle my freshman and sophomore year, and I was rolling around the mud with Coach Shealy, and I've seen the receivers, nice white practice uniforms, and I thought, you know what, I can catch a pass. So thank you, Charlie, for letting me get out of the mud and become a tight end. So that was great. Again, this is truly an honor, and thank you for your time. Thank you.
Don't forget you had to roll around the mud, a middle linebacker too, so don't forget that. Concluding with our inductees at this time is Jeff Zapital. Jeff was a 2-year starter on two very successful East football teams in the 1970s. During Jeff's football career at East, the Trojans were consistently at or near the top of the Big 8 Conference, which in turn was one of the best 4A conferences in the state. In his senior season, Jeff was captain and first-team All-Big 5 in both football and baseball. Jeff was also named to the All-Conference team in football. After graduation, Jeff chose to continue his education at Wartburg College. He became a member of both the football and baseball teams at Wartburg. Jeff lettered all 4 years in football, starting for the first time as a sophomore, and then he went on to play for 4 years for the Knights. In his senior season, he was co-captain. From Wartburg, Jeff stepped into the business world at Deere Automotive Group, and 31 years later serves as the CEO of this top 10 dealership group. Jeff has also been a key member of a Class A softball team. During that time spent on the diamond, Jeff played in 30 national tournaments, 10 state championships, 3 regional championships, which resulted in 2 national runners-up titles. For his softball achievements, he's elected into the Waterloo Softball Hall of Fame. To top this off, he is a Shriner and serves on several community organizations. Jeff has also coached several high school and AAU teams. Jeff has been married to Lisa for 32 years, and together they have 4 children, Jenna, Jillian, Jordan, and Landa. Jeff is in a national slow pitch softball tournament in Las Vegas, and they play about 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. He's unavailable to be here, but his son Landon is. The one story I was told about that's told to me by the 1979 football players, particularly Mark Loftus, is that in the senior year when they were playing at Columbus, Mark gets dinged up. He just drills some guy from Columbus, drills him. He comes back in the huddle, the defensive huddle, and he's dinged up, and he turns and says, "Zap, get me the hell out of here." Zap, get me out of here, man. Mark's teammates replied, hey, Mark, Zap graduated 2 years ago. But he still carried the ominous presence with his teammates after he graduated. Accepting is his son Landon, and the Eastside Football Hall of Fame is proud to welcome into the Ring of Honor 2014 inductee Jeff Zapital.
First off, my dad would like me to apologize that he could not make it here tonight. He is deeply sorry about that. My father and fellow Trojan, you guys all love and know, Mr. Brian Jones back there, instilled the work ethic, passion, and heart of a Trojan in me very young and made me into the player and man that I am today. My dad is deeply honored to be inducted into the Ring of Honor and is also deeply honored to wear the orange and black as a kid. Thank you.
All right. A couple of things before we conclude. A reminder for all the members of the Ring of Honor to stay for a group picture that we'd like to put in the celebrations of the Courier, show off to the people our proud, prestigious heritage that we have here. And maybe they want to continue the celebrations down at Catherine O'Doyle's. I hear Brian Jones has got first round. Best of luck to Coach Carter and Coach Carter and the East High football team tomorrow night. We wish them well. No matter what the records are, it's East-West. And now, to finish off the night with the best note available, it's time to sing those classic and traditional notes of the East High fight song, led by the Bruce Springsteen of East High School, Mike Shealy. So let's everybody get up and let's get ready to bring it down.
Maestro?
Hey, turn it down on me, big boy. Oh. We'll start it over. How's that sound?
That sounds good.
That's what happens when you give Charlie a computer. He screws it all up. Would you believe that?
No, we can go without it. Cheer for East Waterloo, wake up the echo cheering for you. Send a volley cheer on high, shake down the thunder from the sky. What though the odds be great or small, East Waterloo will win overall. While her loyal sons go marching onward to victory. E-A-S-T-H-I-G-A!